UFC Fight Night, Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie Sung Jung. Welcome to another UFC prediction and analysis video presented by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by Zan, I go by Harris. As usual, fight-by-fight breakdowns and analysis from that betting perspective specifically. So we're going to want to let you know which fights are worth the value, which ones to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and some parlay action toward the end of the video as well. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. Let's get this video spread as far out as we can. Please also subscribe to the channel. That goes a long way at Boxing MMA Picks, of course. And most importantly, we're going to want to hear from you in the comments when it's all said and done. Now, for this UFC Fight Night, it is taking place in Singapore, 5 a.m. Eastern Time. So make sure you get your bets in early. 13 fights overall. We have 7 of them on the prelims. We have 6 of them on the main card. Let's get started with our prelims. Fight number 1, we're looking at Seung Choi versus Jarno. Errens. Featherweight fight here. Seung Choi, he lost to Mike Trizano back in November. 3-fight losing streak now after coming in as a pretty solid prospect. He has that sort of stalking, pressuring style of stand-up. He's decent in and out footwork. He gets in and out of range really effectively. He mixes it up well, uses that jab pretty well as a setup punch as well. He is aggressive in the clinch, accolade-wide Korean Muay Thai champion. So that's going to speak for itself in terms of that aggressiveness in the clinch. Definitely got to respect his power. 6 of his 10 wins are via KO, TKO. But like I mentioned, 3-fight losing streak now. We're starting to see some holes in his game over his last few fights. Not really the most active striker, as we see by the significant strikes landed per minute there. Not really the best at defending submissions or defending takedowns, and that chin might be questionable. Going up against Jarno Errens, who lost to William Gomez in his September debut, looks pretty comfortable on the feet. Look for some switch stance, look for forward pressure from him, look for solid combinations, pretty solid striking speed as well. The striking IQ is there from what I've noticed. He can stand there and bang. He can fight a technical fight. Very diverse, right? Good striker overall. I have seen a bit of grappling IQ out of him as well, to that point. 5 out of 13 wins via submission, but didn't really show great takedown defense in his debut. Didn't really show much off of his back either. Probably doesn't matter in this fight either way. For this fight, I don't really think Jarno Errens has good enough of a ground game to try to capitalize on something here. I mentioned Seung Choi, a bit vulnerable to that. Now, with respect to striking, both guys are capable, but in my opinion, I do think Seung Choi should be the better, more dynamic striker here. Choi, of course, can be chinny. I think that makes him a risky spot as a favorite. But when I look at Jarno Errens, just 3 of his 13 wins via KO, TKO, so I can't really rely on the power coming back from Errens from that perspective. And on top of that, Errens doesn't really seem to be the most active striker. Yes, just 1 fight in the UFC, but we see the significant strikes landed per minute there, speaking to that. So basically what I'm saying is I see Seung Choi getting the better of the striking exchanges pretty much for all 3 rounds. So Seung Choi is going to be my pick, but again, Choi does have some red flags that makes me a little bit nervous. But either way, I'm going with Seung Choi.
Yeah, this is a fight you got to be careful with as far as betting goes. Parlay wise, you got to be careful with this fight because Jarno Errens has a kickboxing judo background, and he has shown that in his fights. He if he gets into the clinch, he is really good there. He does have a decent ground game in this fight. He has a good ground game because Seung Choi doesn't really have good grappling, and on the feet, Seung Choi, I believe, with his long strikes, I think he's gonna be the better fighter in the striking, especially at range. And he's really good at closing the distance when he wants. So I think he can dictate the fight in the striking range. But the grappling, I think Errens has a big advantage. So this fight for me is a fight I'm definitely staying away from. But one thing you can't ignore, Seung Choi is on a 3-fight losing streak, but he does have a win, a finish over Julian Erosa, a unanimous decision win over Yusuf Zalal. Like those are big wins, right? So I'm gonna go with Seung Choi. You got to think he's fighting for his job. I think being They're somewhere in Asia, right? So he doesn't have to travel that far compared to Jarno Errens in this fight. So I think this is a spot that Seung Choi can keep it on the feet long enough and outstrike him. So I'm going to go Seung Choi, but I think this is a fight that could easily go the other way. So I'm going to stay away from it betting wise.
Fight number two, let's look at Liang Na versus JJ Aldrich. For Na Liang, 2-fight losing streak. She lost to Silvana Gomez Juarez. That was about just over a year ago, 14 months ago. Ground heavy, grapple heavy attack. Doesn't really waste any time trying to take her fights to the ground. She is a decent grappler to that point. 11 of her 19 wins are via submission, 6 arm bars specifically for what it's worth. 2 of her 6 losses via armbar as well. So what that's telling me is that she does find herself on the ground a lot, whether good or bad. She did land 3 takedowns in her debut, so she can definitely use that groundwork to her advantage. Now, striking wise, she is aggressive, not really the cleanest, kind of forces her way forward. She does have an active jab. Look for level changes as well, again, to try to get that ground game going. Going up against JJ Aldrich, 2-fight losing streak as well. She lost to Ariane Lipski back in March. She has a decent pace. She likes to come forward, not afraid to engage whatsoever, eat a shot to give a shot type of style. She's going to throw multiple punches at a time. A lot of toughness with JJ Aldrich. Decent left hand straight down the middle as well is one weapon that I noticed particularly from her. Primarily a boxer from that striking perspective. You don't really see many kicks from her. And, back to her toughness, she likes to use that clinch work against the cage. She can land a takedown here and there. She does have pretty good ground and pound. Takedown numbers won't really support that, just, 0.82 per fight. So don't expect that to be an active part of her game. But again, she is capable from that perspective. When I look at this fight, Liang Na, former strawweight at 115 pounds, JJ Aldrich, pretty strong as a 125-pounder. Of course, this fight is in the 125-pound division. That alone is going to tell you that JJ Aldrich should be the stronger girl in this fight. And I think that's really all that matters. Because, first of all, Aldrich, big favorite for a reason. I think this is a much easier fight for her compared to her last 2 fights, considering Ariane Lipski, considering Erin Blanchfield, who we will talk about later in this card. JJ Aldrich, in my opinion, has the striking advantage here. Aldrich is the stronger fighter physically, which should nullify any advantage that Liang Na may have on the ground, I should say, because we can't even definitively say she has it. I can see Aldrich actually being the one to land takedowns here. I can see Aldrich being more durable in this spot here and really just, too much of a vet, too good all around. I have JJ Aldrich all day in this spot, unsurprisingly, as a big favorite. So JJ Aldrich should get it done problem free. But of course, big favorite. Always want to be a little careful there.
All right, for me, this fight, man. Yeah, I'm really high on JJ Aldrich, man. You got to think she had a really good fight with Blanchfield. And in that fight, I actually had Blanchfield in that fight. Harris, I believe he had Aldrich, big underdog call. Big underdog. And honestly, the beginning of the fight, or the whole fight, 98% of the fight, Aldrich was keeping it on the feet, avoiding the grappling, and outstriking Blanchfield. Harris was looking like a guru with that pick. And nothing against Harris for that pick, but I think that was a great pick because even though Blanchfield eventually caught the neck and got the choke, you got to factor in that she was losing the entirety of the fight. And all this hype on Blanchfield, a lot of people kind of forget that, yeah, her resilience coming back, winning, but you got to give Aldrich her flowers, man, because Blanchfield is going to be contending soon for the title. Aldrich was literally beating her up, made one mistake, and lost the fight. So again, Harris, that was a magnificent pick, even though she lost. The odds were wide. In this fight, I think what I'm trying to say is Aldrich is a much higher level than this Na Liang girl. And Na Liang is a punching bag. She's going to want to get this to the mat. Doesn't even have the best takedowns to get it there. And if she doesn't get this to the mat, Aldrich is going to piece her up. Has top 3 in women's MMA left hand. Has the top 3 left hand in women's MMA. easily, might be the best, but her left hand's gonna be finding her target all day. And I think Aldrich could possibly get a finish in this spot. But JJ Aldrich, the odds are wild, so probably don't bet it, but there's no way I see she loses this fight. The only way she could lose is some type of submission. That's the only path I have for Liang now. And Aldrich is a vet. She can avoid that. She's gonna be stronger, bigger, dictate where the fight goes. I think she gets it done pretty easily.
Fight number 3, let's look at Billy Goff versus Yusaku Kinoshita. Billy Goff, he is making his UFC debut. He's on a 6-fight winning streak, boxing-esque in his style with respect to his striking. Good pace, consistent level of activity. He presses forward, good combinations, good striking IQ. He is a bit hittable. Took several big shots in his Dana White Contender Series fight, but he also showed several instances of being very durable. I do respect the toughness. In the previous promotion he was in, CES, he took on the middleweight champ and he won as the smaller fighter. Got to respect the power as well. 6 of his 8 wins via KO, TKO. For Yusaku Kinoshita, he lost to Adam Fugit back in February. Still just 23 years old, still improving fight over fight. He's a southpaw, some effective switch stance fighting as well. Good movement, good consistent pressure. Look for good kicks from him, regular kicks as part of his offense. His jab hand does stay active as well, constantly assessing the space, I should say, constantly throwing fake jabs, level changes, things like that, really just trying to stay active, stay busy. He can also be explosive. He can load up on his punches. He can load up on his combinations. Got to mention, he was taken down 4 times in his debut. That was his downfall because he had Adam Fugit rocked a couple of times and then would get taken down each and every time, right? So watch out for that from a weakness perspective. And that's something that I think Billy Goff can potentially take advantage of. Now, I think it would be smart for the UFC to try to build Yusaku Kinoshita's name a little bit more, for events like this in Asia. I think this fight is in Singapore, like I mentioned. He is talented as a striker. He is young enough to make improvements across the board. And to that point, we see Kinoshita as a slight favorite here. He was an even bigger favorite in his last fight versus Adam Fugit, still lost that one. So that tells me that, the UFC may be trying to feed him a little bit here, to be wary of that. Now, unfortunately for Kinoshita, I think this is very much a 50-50 fight in my eyes. Both guys are capable strikers in their own ways. Kinoshita with the kicks, Goff with the punches. Like I said, that aspect of things is a coin flip, in my opinion. My coin is actually going to land on the underdog. I like Billy Goff's style of striking for a fight like this. I think we can potentially see a higher pace of striking coming from Billy Goff. That may put Kinoshita on the back foot. That may allow Billy Goff to get the better of the striking exchanges. Kinoshita knocking out Billy Goff would not surprise me. Billy Goff knocking out Kinoshita would not surprise me. I mentioned the striking being kind of 50-50. I do also think that Goff would be the more likely to land a takedown in this fight. I think that Goff will have the higher level of activity, and I think that's going to allow Billy Goff to pull out the win here. So I'm looking at the underdog, Billy Goff, to get it done.
Yeah, this fight, this is a great fight. We got a striker versus I'm not going to say grappler because Goff, I think, is pretty. He's not great anywhere, but he's okay everywhere. Versus Kinoshita, who's really good in the striking, the boxing, but not really much anywhere else. And this is not a boxing match. This is not a kickboxing match. So you got to factor that in. Kinoshita, I can see landing a big bomb, getting this fight over early in the fight. And I think if he doesn't land that bomb as the fight goes on, I think Goff is one takedown and work away from really turning the fight around. I think if Goff gets him down and gets to work, Kinoshita, it could really hurt his chances in that 3rd round. Now, one thing I noticed I've seen in that fight with Kinoshita versus Adam Fugit. Adam Fugit's a decent fighter, legit fighter. Another fighter, not really great everywhere, but knows how to fight in every area, kind of like a Billy Goff. Um, Again, they're a lot different fighters, but they're very different fighters. But in this fight, that Fugit fight, Figo was trying to get those takedowns, and Kinoshita was doing his job. His back was taken like in the standing position, but he was doing his job trying to keep it on the feet, and he did a good job. He did a good job. And then at some point, I don't remember the strike, but it was a really, really big strike by Fugit that he landed, and Kinoshita really ate that shot, but he didn't take it well. And then after he took that shot, Fuga was able to close the distance, take him down so easy, like cutting through butter. So, and after that, Fuga was able to just take the back. Fuga was able to just control on the ground. Fuga was able to, like, everything seemed easy at that point. What I got from that, I'm not sure if I can take it from that, but what I got from that is Kinoshita, when he got hurt, he's not good being the nail. When he got hurt, he was looking for a way out because he was holding up to all those takedowns. He was controlling, he was doing his job to not get taken down. And then once he got hit in the face, a really good hit though, he got hit in the face. He wasn't he wasn't he wasn't about to fall. He wasn't he was good. He was able to get back his composure. But once he got hit in the face, he got his composure back. The guy clinched with him, took him down very easy. And the whole fight, he couldn't. So what it told me was that this guy does not like getting hit. And once he got hit, I'm not saying he was looking for a way out, but everything seemed a lot easier for Fugit, who a minute later won the fight, finished him. I think Goff is a bad if he doesn't finish Goff in that first round, I think Goff is going to be a tough guy to beat here because Goff gets better as the fight goes on. He has decent cardio, puts on a high pace. When he gets you hurt, he definitely sees blood. So it is a fight that I think can go either way if Kinoshita can get him out of there in the first round. But if he doesn't, I could see Goff. Again, he's just one takedown away from controlling the rest of the fight. I think if he hurts him on the mat, and he has some good ground and pound. If he hurts Kinoshita, I think he's going to look for a way out here. So I'm going to go with the guy I think is more of a dog here, a lot more heart. Kinoshita might be the better striker, either fighting in Asia somewhere. He might look better as a prospect, might have the higher ceiling, but at this point, I think if he gets hurt, I think he might try to find a way out. And Goff is the wrong guy. Goff has a lot of heart. If he could survive that first round, things are going to get really interesting. The pace he pushes, the dog in him. I'm going to go with Billy Goff just off heart. But again, this can go either way.
Fight number 4. Let's look at Song Kenan versus Rolando Bedoya. For Song, 2-fight losing streak. He lost to Ian Gary back in March. No shame there. He's a striker through and through. He's patient, fights from range, decent movement, picks his shots well with pretty good striking IQ. He is a black belt, doesn't really use it, doesn't really land takedowns, not a wrestler by any means either. So from an MMA perspective, that kind of goes to waste. Doesn't really have the highest level of activity either. Doesn't really have a change of pace. Just pretty straightforward in his style. But he is still an effective striker, all things said. I mean, don't forget, he had Ian Gary hurt, right? So very capable as a striker. Rolando Bedoya, split decision loss to Chaos Williams back in May. Light off of his feet, solid calf kick, good diversity with his striking, decent footwork as well. He likes to lure you in, likes to kind of, look for that check hook counter. Great timing to that point of being able to land it. The combinations can absolutely get tricky as well. Not really going to look for takedowns, although he does have some IQ down there. A few submission victories to his name. Important to note that most of his wins are via decision, though. So that lets you know that he's able to go after it. Not really someone that's going to rely on big power, so to speak. I do think that Bedoya wins the fight. I don't really agree with the odds, though. I mean, the odds, they might present from a betting perspective a dog or pass type of situation. I mean, Kenan Song fighting in Asia at plus 260 might be worth some change there. Bedoya, definitely tough. We got to respect Kenan Song's power. Half of his wins via KO TKO. Again, he had Ian Gary rocked, so Kenan Song can be some really good value. Where you do have some confidence on the side of Bedoya is that he went against a striker with even more power. in Chaos Williams last time up in his debut. So that tells me that he should be able to handle potential power coming his way pretty well. I don't see him getting knocked out to that point. And from that point, I'm going to trust Bedoya's activity, striking speed, a little bit more in comparison to Kenan Song activity as well. So I will say this, generally not a confident pick. When you see these kinds of odds, you think they're parlay pieces. I'm going to say avoid parlays on this one. But in terms of making a pick, I will be picking Rolando Bedoya. Again, a bit more activity, a bit more pace, a bit more speed, and maybe a bit more heart and toughness as well. So Bedoya is going to be my pick to get it done, but be careful. There's some underdog odds for sure on Kenan Song.
Yeah, this is a fight where I think it's gonna be mainly on the feet, and in that scenario, Rolando he took a lot of shots from Chaos, and this guy ate those shots. It's gonna be really hard to get him out of there. I think it's gonna be a fight where they both land. They both don't have the best striking defense, so they both are gonna land. But I just think Rolando can take the shots a lot better. And I'm gonna go with Rolando Bedoya getting his win in the UFC in this fight. I think this is a spot where he's getting a guy that he should be able to keep it on the feet and have the better striking, have the more durability. So I'm gonna go Rolando here to get the win.
Fight number 5,
but I will say, sorry to cut you off, but I will say the odds are crazy. I don't think he should be, because he isn't proven yet. Kenan Song's the vet, but I got to go with Bedoya in this spot.
All right, fight number 5. Let's talk Chidi Njokuani versus Michał Oleksiejczuk. Sneaky good fight in the middleweight division here. We have Chidi Njokuani, who's on a 2-fight losing streak after a split decision loss to Albert Duraev back in March. Very quick with his striking, throws a lot of fakes and feints to kind of set things up. A lot of push kicks, sneaky calf kick. Fight's really tall, has that sort of Muay Thai style on the feet. The kicks are the primary weapon, I would say. I mentioned very quick as a striker, very sneaky as a counter striker as well. He's pretty crafty, all things considered. Good power as well. His last 4 wins are finishes. 14 of his 22 wins overall are via KO, TKO. So you definitely got to respect that. Takedown defense is okay at 70%. Probably not relevant for this fight, though. Michał Oleksiejczuk lost to Caio Borralho back in April. No shame there whatsoever. He is a quick starter, high-paced fighter, coming forward at all times. Moves well, a lot of head movement with his punches, continuous in and out movement, continuous usage of fakes and feints, constant pressure, constant pace, constant activity. Definitely a lot to deal with, right? And the striking itself is legitimate power. The technique looks cleaner as well. Still just 28 years old, so still a fighter that's improving on a fight-over-fight basis. When I look at this fight, I'm looking at a good striking battle here. We see the odds are very close, so Vegas knows this fight can go either way. Both fighters are going to be playing into each other's style. If you're on the betting side of Chidi Njokuani, you're maybe a bit disappointed with his lack of pace in his last fight. That may concern you a bit. He wasn't really able to raise his level of activity to another gear to secure the win. His pace really has never been too high. If you're on the betting side of Michał Oleksiejczuk, you want to be wary of his style, right? That style where he pushes the pace forward, that might actually get him caught. Like I said, Njokuani, power striker, quick striker that can land effective counters. So it's a tough fight that I was going back and forth with really all week. All things considered, I think I'm going to actually trust Michał Oleksiejczuk in this spot a little bit more, based on that forward pressure style, based on that style that's going to give me a higher pace. I can see Oleksiejczuk forcing the action, backing Njokuani up, looking better in the eyes of the judges, despite Njokuani, having some moments throughout the fight. Close fight. This could be one of those split decision type of fights that really just depends on how the judge sees it. But like I said, with the UFC, especially lately, you push the pace, you push the pressure, you give me more activity. That's usually going to lead to judges siding on your side rather than the cleaner counter striker, for example. So I'm going Michał Oleksiejczuk to get it done. Activity, pace, that should do it.
Okay, yeah, this fight, it's a good fight. We have a boxer versus a kickboxer, and like Michał Oleksiejczuk, obviously the boxer, good hands. Again, like Kara said, puts on the pace, has a really good left hand as well. That's sneaky, very accurate striker with his boxing. But it's mainly boxing. That's what you're going to get out of him. When you look at Chidi Njokuani, he's going to give you a lot of kicks. He's going to give you a lot of kicks. He has some hands as well. Powerful striker. This fight, it's gonna be tough. Chidi's gonna be the bigger guy. Should be able to control that range with his kicks. However, Chidi needs space. He needs to be grounded. And if Michał Oleksiejczuk keeps putting on that pressure, keeping him on the back foot, then Chidi's not gonna be able to let off the strikes that he wants to. So Chidi again getting backed up could be a real big issue in this fight. But I do think Chidi has a sneaky counter right, a sneaky counter right. And I think in this fight, Michał Oleksiejczuk might get a little overzealous, and I think Chidi can catch him. If not, Chidi, I think, has more ways to win the fight. I think he could mix in the kicks, mix in the boxing with the kicks, fight at distance. If someone's going for a takedown, it's going to be Chidi. Chidi's a stronger guy, the bigger guy. Again, this fight for me is tough because it's going to be like a Street Fighter situation where they're going to be standing up, going toe-to-toe. Someone's going to outstrike the other person like Street Fighter. So it's a really hard fight to decide when both guys are good strikers, good at what they do. But I got to go with Chidi, just having the intangibles, the size, the extra kicks to his game. And this is his division, right? So I'm going to go Chidi to get the win here.
Fight number 6 of our prelims. Let's talk Toshiomi Kazama versus Garrett Armfield. For Kazama, he lost to Rinya Nakamura in his February debut. Aggressive forward pressure, aggressive forward movement. Doesn't really even try to set things up. Just great explosiveness, great power. Likes to keep that distance close, like to really get in your face, stay in your face. He is going to look for clinch situations. He can land takedowns as well. Knowledgeable ground game to go along with it. And you know, there's some holes. I mean, he's 26 years old. Of course, there are going to be some holes in his game. Those being his cardio could be better. Also likes to spam the takedown attempts in ways that aren't really, you know, good timing or different styles of takedowns. So it could start to get really easy to defend his takedowns. No real strategy overall either, right? He's one of those fighters that are kind of a kill or be killed type of style. Garrett Armfield lost to David Onama. That was 13 months ago. That was a short notice fight for him. He also moved up a weight class. He is back down to his natural weight class for this one. But even in that short notice fight, striking looks decent. It's controlled, good IQ. Combinations are there. Stays in front of you, boxes in the pocket, primarily hands, primarily with the boxing. The power is there. 5 of his 8 wins are via KO, TKO. The clinch is there. If he is taken down, he can scramble and sort of make his way back up. I'm looking at a close fight. When I analyze it, I'm looking at a dangerous fight for both fighters. Armfield, like I mentioned, back in his weight class for this one, full training camp. So these are important factors. Second fight in the UFC. I believe. So, you know, some things that are on the side of Garrett Armfield, I do understand why he's the favorite from that perspective. Unsurprisingly, Kazama should be the more dangerous striker. But I do think that Armfield, more controlled, probably better striking IQ, and that could actually put him at an advantage from a striking perspective. I do think that both guys may be able to land takedowns on each other. I do think that cardio may also be questionable on both sides. You know, just looking at another fight that can go either way, right? So it's another close one for sure. I'm actually going to side with the underdog here again. In these close fights, I'm liking the underdog value. I think that Kazama can bring that early pace that Armfield just may not expect, right? I do think that Kazama can land takedowns within that early action. And I think that Kazama can do enough for at least 2 rounds to present some value as an underdog here. You know, Armfield, basically what I'm trying to get at here is that Armfield just hasn't shown me anything to warrant him being a favorite. Especially with this fight being in Singapore, I think the Japanese fighter should have a bit more of a pick'em type of situation. So that said, pick'em type of situation, we're seeing Kazama here as the underdog. Gonna have to roll the dice on the underdog and side with Toshiomi Kazama.
Yeah, man. This Kazama guy can come out here looking like a really, really good guy here. Could really improve in certain areas, and he's a world beater, right? I don't think he's gonna be a top 10 guy, but definitely a guy that can beat guys with his grappling, high level grappling, submission game. I think if he gets this fight to the mat, if he gets this fight to the mat easily, I think he's gonna be able to keep top control for a while and give Armfield problems. Armfield doesn't have the best takedown defense. Armfield does have decent offensive wrestling. On the feet, though, I just feel this I feel Armfield is the better striker, and I feel Kazama just is a bit uncomfortable on the feet, in my opinion. Maybe I didn't watch the fights you watched, Harris, but in my opinion, he seems a bit uncomfortable on the feet. Sometimes his entries are really telegraphed. So he's going to need to, I think he's going to need to get this to the mat, in my opinion. He's going to have to grapple. He's going to have to use that grappling. And I think if he gets him down, I think he has the better grappling. I think he's the more dangerous guy when it comes to the grappling. But I'm going to have to roll with Armfield in this fight here. In a fight that I like Harris, I think could go either way, 50-50. Odds should be really, really close here. But I do think Armfield has a bit more fight in him, more well-rounded. I think on the feet, Armfield can land the better strikes, can possibly hurt Kazama on the feet. I'm not really sold on Kazama's stand-up. However, his grappling is really good. But I don't really like his entrances on takedowns. So I'm going to go with the guy I think is a better striker. I think a lot of the grappling negates, and I'm going to go with Garrett Armfield doing some work in the boxing.
All right, let's talk final fight of our prelims. We got a heavyweight fight here between sort of two of the newer heavyweights in the UFC, Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Łukasz Brzeski. For Cortes-Acosta, he unanimous decision loss to Marcos Rogerio de Lima back in April. He's a striker, a former boxer, good jab, uses it really well to control distance, to control pace, to set up combinations, as well as to stop the attack from his opponents. He can land solid combinations, doesn't really swing wildly, doesn't really waste punches, good overall work rate as well. We see the significant strikes landed per minute there, and his hands are fast, especially for this division. Just 60% takedown defense. He gave up 3 takedowns in his last fight, so he's very much a striker. To that point, his MMA striking defense isn't quite there. His last opponent capitalized on leg kicks throughout the entire fight, so that can be definitely a path to beating him until he improves that, until he gets more used to complete MMA striking, both offensively and defensively. But offensively, very good from that striking perspective. Łukasz Brzeski, unanimous decision loss to Carl Williams back in March. He's comfortable on the feet, but he does lack some striking technique, in my opinion. He can swing big, miss big at times, throws kicks with regularity. Just mentioned that in terms of Cortes-Acosta being able to defend that. Regular jab as well. But with Łukasz Brzeski, relatively basic fighter. Basic 2-punch combinations, good pop in his punches, good pace, at least early in the fight. I don't think he's a takedown artist by any means, but he does have active ground and pound should the fight get there. And like many heavyweights, cardio is a huge concern. He definitely slows down significantly. I'll keep this short from an analysis perspective. I think this is a good spot for Waldo Cortes-Acosta here. Outside of this being a heavyweight fight, a heavyweight beware where anything can happen as soon as either fighter lands a punch. I feel pretty confident with Waldo Cortes-Acosta getting it done. I'm looking at 2 fighters that are going to strike. I don't think either guy will go for takedowns. And when you compare the striking, Cortes-Acosta's striking to me is a lot better. It's quicker, more technique, better combinations, better striking ability overall. I think Łukasz Brzeski's style of striking pretty sloppy, and I don't anticipate that giving Cortes-Acosta any problems. So again, I can see Cortes-Acosta outstriking Brzeski all fight here. And then, of course, with the heavyweights, potentially hurting him, potentially finishing it as well. But I like Waldo Cortes-Acosta in this spot outside of the heavyweight beware.
Yeah, I think this is a fight where Waldo's gonna be landing the better shots. However, Lucas could be landing more strikes, being more active. But Lucas has bad cardio, and this guy really does slow down after that first round. He's not the same guy in that first round. Aside from any knockout Lucas lands, or I think as the fight goes on, Acosta is more equipped for the 3-round fight. He's gonna be landing the better shots to kind of steal the rounds for the judges. I think this could be a close fight on the judges' scorecard, unless Acosta lands a big shot, gets a finish here. But I could see Lucas hanging around, making this fight look pretty close. A bad fight as far as entertainment wise, but I think Acosta just landing the better shots. He's gonna steal the rounds, and I think he wins this fight. So I'm gonna go with Acosta here, Waldo Acosta to win the match here.
All right, let's move on to our main card where we have 6 fights overall. And we're going to start with fight number 1, which is also a heavyweight fight. Junior Tafa versus Parker Porter. For Junior Tafa, unanimous decision loss to Muhammad Usman. That was back in April. We know that he was in Glory Kickboxing before switching over to MMA. So you do see the record there. It's not going to be much. All 4 of his wins are via KO, TKO, unsurprisingly. Very true to his kickboxing background on the feet. Big hands, big power. He can take a shot. He can land a big kick. Expect a patient approach. Even like his brother, taking his time to try to find his reads. Doesn't really mind fighting off of that back foot at all. Showed pretty solid takedown defense in his debut, all things considered, despite giving up 2 takedowns. Looks like he knows that fighters are going to try that against him, and it looks like he's pretty prepared to defend it. Parker Porter, on the other hand, beat Braxton Smith. That was back in May. He's going to keep it on the feet more times than not, going to want to come forward, going to want to look for big striking opportunities, especially early in the fight. Otherwise, he uses that jab pretty regularly as well. Pretty good setup punch for him to get those combinations going, and he's not afraid to engage at all. He will look for sort of clinch dirty box opportunities. Don't be surprised if that leads to a takedown or 2. We see the numbers there at 1.38 per fight. So that's something that he can incorporate and that he could have an advantage over Tafa in this one. But let me keep the analysis short here as well. Again, another heavyweight fight. I think this fight should be Junior Tafa all day here. You look at the age, 26 versus 38. Tafa will have the opportunities to control the striking range, to control the striking pace. I think he's going to have his moments to land big on Parker Porter. Now, of course, Parker Porter not afraid to engage. That can actually work against him here, but it could work in his favor, right? Because it can allow him to get close. It can allow him to land on Tafa. It can allow him to potentially land a takedown or 2. But again, Tafa, kickboxer, I don't think anything Parker Porter throws will be, that much of a threat. And I do think that Junior Tafa will be able to defend those takedown attempts as well, because it's not like Parker Porter is an amazing wrestler by any means. It is a heavyweight fight, so of course we can see this fight go either way. We can see both fighters gas out really badly. We can see, the entire landscape of the fight changing in either direction at any given time. But just from an analytic perspective, I do think that Junior Tafa should be the pick here. Again, heavyweight beware, not interested in betting on this one at all, not even on a long shot parlay. But from a prediction perspective, I'm going to go with Junior Tafa.
Yeah, on the feet in this fight, Tafa's going to be too dangerous. Striking, Parker's been finished, and I think Tafa definitely has the ability to finish Parker Porter in this fight. On the grappling side, though, Parker is definitely the better grappler. But Junior, the more he's in this MMA, the more he's doing this. He was a kickboxer. The more he's doing this MMA, his takedown defense is going to improve. And like Harris said, Parker's takedowns, he's not the greatest wrestler. So I think enough of this fight stays on the feet, and I think Tafa just needs some openings. I think he lands a big shot here on Parker Porter. I don't think Parker's going to go out here and land a bunch of takedowns and like Usman did. Usman has that wrestling background. He's more explosive. I don't think Parker Porter has that in him. I think he might get a takedown, but I see Tafa eventually getting back to his feet. Even if the round has to finish, but after he gets back to his feet, he's going to get to work. Takedown's going to be much harder. Parker's a big boy. I think Tafa's going to find a finish here, like his brother. So I'm going to go Junior Tafa for the win here.
Second fight of our main card, we have Erin Blanchfield versus Taila Santos. I actually think this should be co-main event. This is a huge fight in the women's flyweight division here. Erin Blanchfield, she beat Jessica Andrade back in February, 8 wins in a row now. She's introduced as a jiu-jitsu practitioner, 24 years old, still young, still improving significantly in each fight. She's really composed, good striking diversity. She uses her jabs really effectively, good fakes and feints, different angles as well, likes to close that distance effectively with a consistent pace. We see the significant strikes landed per minute there. Staying consistent, right? A good striking IQ to go along with that. I think the stand-up is a part of her game that definitely has made improvements. She sets up her ground game really well, and that's where she is really good. Strong body lock, solid clinch, solid takedowns, really well-versed on the ground, good ground and pound, good everything from that perspective. Good offensive groundwork, also a respectable 77% takedown defense. So again, really well-rounded, improving fight over fight, and, taking on the cream of the crop in the division in Taila Santos, who was a title challenger just last year. She lost to Valentina Shevchenko. That was 14 months ago via split decision. Again, kudos to Zahn for making that pick on Taila Santos. That was an amazing pick, and she probably won that fight, but Valentina was still Valentina, so you had to give her the nod. But nonetheless, Taila Santos, she throws a lot into her strikes, good stand-up, boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai type of style, good stiff jab, good hooking combinations, quick and explosive with really good power, good body kicks as well. She has a strong clinch, good knees to the body, good takedowns as well. Really good on top, really good takedown defense to go along with that. I have seen her slow down a bit in her fights, which could potentially be costly, but this is a 3-rounder, right? So that definitely works in her favor. Amazing fight here. I think this probably is a title eliminator fight. We know that in these high level fights, anything can happen. So that's going to be the first thing to say. High level fight, anything can happen. If she hasn't done so already, I do think that a win here would cement Erin Blanchfield as a bona fide threat to win the title. There are a lot of variables to consider, of course. First one, Santos may be the better striker for this fight, or at least more dangerous, but Blanchfield very effective with that continued pace, with that continued pressure going forward. I think about her last fight, and some good, some bad. Good in the sense that forward pressure worked, bad in the sense that Jessica Andrade, she landed a few really clean shots on Erin Blanchfield, especially early in that fight. It can be a very different result if it's Taila Santos landing those shots, right? But Blanchfield, she can counter effectively. She has effective jab. She has effective activity, pace, etc., movement, and that eventually became too much for Jessica Andrade. On the flip side, when I think about Taila Santos's last fight, and really, any fight that she's been in, her striking pace is not really too high. So I can see Erin Blanchfield sort of wearing on her with her activity, with her forward pressure, with Taila Santos not really having the best cardio. Takedown defense, pretty good on both sides. Takedown ability, pretty good on both sides as well. I do think that we're going to see back and forth in that department. Similarly to Santos versus Shevchenko, where both fighters were able to land 3 takedowns each. Blanchfield has never really shown cardio concerns. She's never really been in a fight that's gone to round 4 either. Santos, like I said, not known for the greatest cardio, but she did go 5 rounds effectively with Valentina. That won't matter as much because, like I said, this will be a 3-round fight. But like I said, a lot of variables. I think this fight can go either way. Stylistically, I do like Blanchfield here in this spot. Outside of getting knocked out. And that's a big caveat, a big asterisk there, because Taila Santos can definitely do that. I've mentioned it a few times, but I like the pace on the side of Blanchfield. I think the takedowns are real on the side of Blanchfield. I think that's a real factor for her. She's not afraid of the moment. I do expect her to perform. She's getting better fight over fight as well. And, I think that, we can see a performance that puts Blanchfield in line for a title shot. So I'm going to go with Erin Blanchfield. It's a pretty risky pick, but I like the momentum that she has behind her right now, and I think she keeps it up.
Yeah, there's a lot to like with Erin Blanchfield, man. She's persistent. She has that grappling game that she has, and she finishes fights. She looks for the finish, and she has that it factor. That for some reason this girl knows how to win fights. And even the fight against Aldrich, I mentioned earlier, she was losing that fight up until that point. She landed. She got the neck, and she made the most of that and got the finish. So she's definitely looking good here, man. Based off what you're seeing, it looks like she is the real deal, and she's gonna be challenging for that title. And I can see her winning this fight with that high level, the tenacity she has, the pace she puts on, the grappling, even the improvements that she's gonna come with. She beat Jessica Andrade with her striking looked really improved in that fight. But I will say though, Andrade just seems to be fighting for money at this point. She's just taking fights, week notice, doesn't matter. It just seems it's all about the cash at this point for her. I think in Taila Santos, she's gonna be fighting a fighter that is more dedicated to the game right now. Taila Santos is gonna have a size advantage, a strength advantage. Going to be much physically, like a big thing in this fight. She's going to be much more stronger physically. And as good as Blanchfield is with her grappling, she's going to have a hard time getting that going, I believe, with Taila Santos. I think Santos has good grappling as well. Is going to have that strength advantage, the reach, the size. And on the feet, I still think Blanchfield is improving. But I think right now, based on what I've seen, I think Santos is the better striker on the feet, especially with that reach. I could be reaching, but I think she is the better striker. And that Shevchenko fight, my God, she got robbed. I thought she won that fight against Valentina Shevchenko. Had that back control, was dominant, was winning won the grappling exchanges in that fight. I think she's gonna be able to win the grappling exchanges in this fight as well. And I think Erin Blanchfield, as good as she is, she's not a Valentina Shevchenko, nowhere near it. And I think Taila Santos pulls this off, man, as the underdog.
All right, let's move on to fight number 3 on our main card. We have Rinya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia. I'm not sure why this fight is on the main card, but here we are. For Rinya Nakamura, he beat Toshiomi Kazama, who we talked about earlier. That was back in February, like I mentioned. He did that to stay undefeated at 7-0. Good pressure, a lot of fakes and feints, good head movement as well. He's explosive, good power, good striking speed, lands hard combinations with good forward pressure, solid wrestling as well. He can land takedowns. He has good ground IQ to go along with it. Fernie Garcia, 2-fight losing streak. He lost to Brady Heastand back in November. Striking wise, he's pretty good. Good quick hands, good quick combinations, solid counter puncher as well. Has sneaky power, even though 1 of his 10 wins are via KO TKO. Don't sleep on the power that he has, or at least the pop that he has on his punches. He should be the fighter coming forward. Not really too much pressure. The hands aren't really too active, but from a ring control perspective, or I guess octagon control, he can be effective there. Just 61% takedown defense. He's given up 5 takedowns in his 2 UFC losses. Very vulnerable there, and that's going to be a key factor. I won't take long on this one because Nakamura is a minus 800. You should feel pretty confident picking Rinya Nakamura here. Garcia shows that he can't even beat non-strikers at this level if they have the ability to take him down. And I'm thinking about Brady Heastand. So not only can Nakamura land takedowns on Garcia, but Nakamura may also be the better striker. Though Garcia can be dangerous as a striker, we have seen him outstruck at this level, so I'm not really too worried about the threat on the side of Fernie Garcia. Like I mentioned, only one win via KO TKO as well, so it's not like he's some big power threat or something like that. Like I said, Nakamura may be better everywhere in this fight. Has the explosiveness to get a finish as well, whether it's a finish, whether it's a takedown in every round, whether it's just outstriking him throughout the entire fight. My pick is going to be Rinya Nakamura, and I just don't see how he loses this one. So Nakamura should get it done, unsurprisingly, as a huge favorite.
Yeah, this is on the main card because of Rinya Nakamura. This guy has a really high ceiling, a good wrestling game. In this fight, like Harris said, he's gonna be better everywhere in this fight. He's gonna be the better athlete, the better striker, the better wrestler. He's ultimately gonna dictate where this fight goes. And I think this is a bad matchup for Fernie Garcia. So I got to go with Rinya Nakamura here, doing what he does, man, getting some takedowns. I don't even think he's going to go there. He's going to keep it on the feet. I think he's going to hurt him. He's a very explosive, athletic striker. I think he's going to land. I think he's going to get Fernie out of there. So I'm going to go with Nakamura here to get the win here.
All right, fight number 4. We have Giga Chikadze versus Alex Caceres. Chikadze has not fought since January 2021. It's been a while for sure. Lost to Calvin Kattar at that time. We know he's competed in Glory Kickboxing in the past, so more than capable as a striker. I would say his style is considered to be a combination of kickboxing and karate. Very sharp kicks, good calf kicks, sharp overall, good combinations, good movement. Has that explosiveness as well, has that power as well. 9 of his 14 wins are via KO TKO. Do not expect takedowns from him. He is very much a striker, just 70% takedown defense to go along with that, so he can be a bit vulnerable there. Alex Caceres, unanimous decision win over Daniel Pineda back in June. He's on a 2-fight winning streak now. Lengthy southpaw, experienced fighter, good movement. He stays patient. Definitely improved that striking IQ over his career. He is a diverse striker. He's always been one. Effective kicks to stay at range, high takedown accuracy, but he doesn't really land them too often, about a half takedown per fight. He can sneak into submission as well. He does have a number of professional wins via submission, but I do expect him to keep it standing, use his movement, pick his shots well, be a hard target to hit for his opponents, and try to get the job done in that fashion. Caceres, of course, will have the benefit of being the more active fighter here. He's fought 3 times since Giga Chikadze's last fight. A close fight would not surprise me at all, considering the level of activity. But I mean, all things considered, I think that Chikadze has to be the pick here. I can see Chikadze being the more aggressive striker, the more effective striker with the kicks versus a somewhat similar approach coming from Caceres. And I think this is the perfect fight to allow Giga to get back into form, to try to work his way back to the top of the division again. So Giga Chikadze is going to be my pick here. I think there's actually pretty decent value on him at these odds, and something that I'm taking a look at from a parlay perspective.
Yeah, this is one of the more clear, like easy to figure out what's going to happen as far as fight goes. This is going to be a striking fight. Both these guys don't want to keep this on their feet. Who's the better striker? I got to go with Giga Chikadze as the better striker. More technical, but Caceres has been counted out before. One fight against Julian Erosa, counted out, and against Seung Choi, counted out, and he found the victory in both of those fights. So this is a guy that thrives in the underdog role, likes to upset people's parlays. Caceres is one of those guys, man. He can land that kick from anywhere, any angle. But I do think Giga Chikadze is going to be the better striker. This is going to be on the feet. Chikadze has the power advantage as well, the technique advantage. I got to go with Chikadze in this spot. Caceres, I think, being a vet, he's done this before. He can definitely land something that could finish the fight. But I do think if this stays on the feet, Chikadze has seen it before. He's the better guy on the feet, so I got to go with Giga in this spot.
Fight number 5. Let's talk Anthony Smith co-main event versus Ryan Spann. This actually is a rematch from a fight that they had in September 2021. Anthony Smith, unanimous decision loss to Johnny Walker his last time up. That was back in May. Patient fighter, veteran, good overall movement, fights from distance, a lot of level changes, fakes, feints, things like that. Tries to really stay active, get his opponents to bite. The jab is pretty decent. Grappling BJJ is his specialty. We know that. He's not really a wrestler, however. Less than a takedown per fight, just 47% takedown defense as well. Gives up a lot of control time, kind of like okay being on his back, so you don't love that. Not really the best striking defense either, especially when you consider that front leg. It stays exposed to leg kicks, and a lot of fighters have used that against him. Not too high on Anthony Smith. I've never been, but let's talk about Ryan Spann a little bit, who lost to Nikita Krylov back in March. His stand-up is decent, methodical pace, active jab, solid 1-2. Not really the most active striker, but he does have dangerous power. He might have a questionable chin. He's been finished a few times in his career now. He is going to try to wrestle with you, or at least clinch against the cage at some point in his fights. 1.6 takedown per fight will speak to that. Just 45% takedown defense, though, which could be relevant here. Now, like I mentioned, these two fought September 2021. Anthony Smith knocked him down twice, one via submission in that fight. Anthony Smith 0-2 since then. Ryan Spann 2-1 since then. Lately, when Spann loses, he's getting finished, right? So that's something that you want to be wary of. Like the first fight, I can see a finish, being a path for Anthony Smith here. I can see a knockout. I can see a submission the exact same way he did in the last fight, right? He had opportunities to do both in some ways. Both guys are not reliable fighters. So from a betting perspective, be careful on either side. I think it's a gamble on either side. I don't think there's a smart pick here, gambling wise, or betting wise, I should say. Now, despite what happened the first time around, I think what's true is that Anthony Smith was more defensive in that fight until Spann got caught. So I can see the same thing happening here. And it's a question of, will Anthony Smith catch Ryan Spann again, like he did in the last fight? I think there is a lot of lessons to be learned in that last fight from Ryan Spann. I mean, like I mentioned, he's been 2-1 since then. So hopefully he's taken some lessons from that. And like I said, this may be a bit of bias. I'm just not high on Anthony Smith at all. I think about how bad Anthony Smith has looked since that fight, albeit stiff competition, whereas Ryan Spann actually does have a few wins. And on this one, I was going back and forth because I still want to be objective. Neither fighter is reliable. Smith could be the pick, but then my gut says to go with Ryan Spann here, right? I think there's going to be some, situation where Ryan Spann just kind of learns from what happened in the last fight and covers up a little bit better and doesn't let Anthony Smith catch him, and maybe doesn't come in as aggressively and doesn't get caught. So I think anything can happen. I think Anthony Smith could have his number based on what happened in the last fight. I mean, September 2021 is not that long ago, but just not high on Anthony Smith at all. I just can't really pick him to win any fight. So I'm going to go with Ryan Spann to get it done here, but more of a gut pick. Don't follow me on this one and stay away from a betting perspective, I would say.
Yeah, this is one of those fights where obviously Anthony Smith won the first one, but Anthony Smith was coming off, he's on a 2-fight winning streak. And in that fight, he was able to get the finish against Ryan Spann. I think Ryan Spann has made more improvements. I think right now, Ryan Spann is the better guy. On the feet, I think Ryan's going to be more dangerous, looking for the finish. And Anthony Smith, I'm not sure how much more he has left in the game here. He looked pretty uninspired in his last fight. In this fight, Ryan Spann's going to be coming in here. He lost the first one. He's going to be super motivated. And that's one thing about Ryan Spann is There's two Ryan Spans. There's the Ryan Span that comes here looking like a world beater. Then there's the Ryan Span that comes uninspired and just kind of rolls with it and loses, right? So I think in this fight he's gonna be really motivated. Losing the first fight, and I think he made the better improvements since then. I think he's the better guy, the more dangerous striker. I think he might even get a finish here. He has a finishing move. He has that guillotine. I know he lost that way in the first fight. He might get it back here, or he might get the knockout.
All right, let's move on to our main event of the evening. We have Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie Sung Jung. Max Holloway unanimous decision win over Arnold Allen. That was back in April. Definitely one of the best pure strikers in the UFC. I mean, what can we say about him at this point? Good pace, good control of the octagon, good complete striking, high IQ. Definitely a complete striker. Expect him to keep the fight on the feet. Has great takedown defense throughout his entire career. 84% is the takedown defense number to go along with that. He even snuck in 3 takedowns of his own a few fights ago. I don't expect that to be a part of his game, but just know that, you know, if he commits to it, he has that in him. Like I said, high level, high paced, complete striking on the side of Max Holloway, and still just 31 years old. So he's not someone who's, you know, slowing down anytime soon. Sung Jung lost to Alexander Volkanovski 16 months ago. He is a striker as well. He is considered a kickboxer with a background in jiu-jitsu. Flat-footed, almost a signature style from him. Good counter puncher, good striking speed, good accuracy. He almost wants to lull you to sleep with his style and then use that striking speed to catch you. Has that one-shot power to go along with that. So you got to be careful. 0.74 takedowns per fight. Not really a strong part of his game, but he can grapple. 77% takedown defense to go along with that as well. I'll save the time on this because whenever it's a big favorite, I'd never want to spend too much time analyzing it. Max Holloway all day in this spot. Too durable, too smart. I can't see Sung Jung catching him with that power that I mentioned he has. You know, Holloway's too used to it, too good of a chin, too much striking prowess, too much pace for Sung Jung to keep up. Now, what Volk did to the Korean Zombie, what Holloway did to Arnold Allen, I can see similar outcomes here in this fight. So that's Max Holloway severely outstriking and outpointing throughout the entire fight. Huge favorite for a reason. I don't really see how Max Holloway loses here. I'm going with Max Holloway to get it done.
Yeah, this is one of those fights, man. I'm not gonna really go much into it. If Korean Zombie wins this fight, it is near the Matt Serra beating GSP. It would be a big upset. Holloway has him covered everywhere. He's gonna be able to stop the takedowns. He's gonna be the much bigger guy. I got Holloway all day here. If he loses this fight, I might have to hang it up, man. I might have to stop making these videos. If Holloway loses this fight, that's it for me. So I'm gonna go Max Holloway. I think he gets it done pretty confident. I don't see how he loses.
All right, let's take it to Vegas. Let's talk some underdogs and let's talk about some parlay action. I will start off by reading the underdogs out. Jarno Errens is an underdog versus Seung Choi. Liang, big underdog versus JJ Aldrich. Billy Goff is an underdog. Song Kenan. That Michał Oleksiejczuk fight, that is a pick'em currently, so we will count either fighter as the underdog there. Toshiomi Kazama, Lucas Brzeski, Parker Porter, Taila Santos, Fernie Garcia, Alex Caceres, Anthony Smith is the underdog despite the rematch there, and Sung Jung, of course, is an underdog as well.
Yeah, I'm rolling with my girl, man. She got robbed against Shevchenko, man. I'm going with Taila Santos.
All right. Doubling up on the Taila Santos underdog there. And my underdog pick is going to be, I like Billy Goff. I like Billy Goff in that spot. I think he could have Kinoshita's number from a talent perspective and get it done. Now in terms of parlay pieces, who are you taking a look at?
All right, I got to go after you on this one, man. I'm just going through it right now.
For sure. I found this card to be a little tough to get great money out of, but I want to go for the win. I want to go with the Waldo Cortes-Acosta. I want to go with Giga Chikadze, and I want to go with Max Holloway. The three of those will be a 2.2. Little cheeky, but a win is better than anything else. $100 will return a total of 220 for our bigger betters. $250 will return a total of 551.
All right, man. This is gonna be a first in boxing MMA pick history, man. But my underdog play is Talia Santos.
All right, there you go.
And let me
2.1.
bless that. Let me bless that. Throw in Max Holloway and throw in JJ Aldrich.
Good picks there. Good picks there. That'll be a 2.79. So that means $100 will return a total of 279 for our bigger betters. $250 will return a total of 698. So let's wrap it up on that note. This has been UFC Fight Night. Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie Sung Jung. Full card prediction video presented by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. Again, please be sure to hit the thumbs up on the video if you have made it this far. Please subscribe to the channel as well here at Boxing MMA Picks. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. Let us know how you feel about our picks, our underdog pick, our parlay pick, which in Zan's case happens to include an underdog for the first time in Boxing MMA Picks history. How do you guys feel about that? Any additional insight or props or results that you're looking for, that you're thinking about betting on? Let that all be known in the comments. We're more than happy to provide additional insight from that perspective. Again, do not forget, get your bets in early. This event is taking place in Singapore. It is starting at 5 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, as opposed to the typical 4 p.m. or 6 p.m. Eastern time type of start. So get those bets in early. But let's officially sign off. UFC Fight Night, Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie Sung Jung. Full card prediction video presented by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by Zan, I go by Harris in our usual fashion. Let's get this money.
Let's get it.